Welcome to today's Explainer. We're putting you squarely in the hot seat of high-stakes hospitality management. We're going to walk through a fascinating customer recovery simulation, and it's called Roller Coaster Rush. You know, this isn't just about making people happy. It's a real exercise in rapid-fire triage, team consensus, and real-time problem solving. Okay, let's dive into this.
So picture the scene. You're the manager of the only amusement park in the city. The energy, it's absolutely electric because it's the very last day before you shut the gates for the entire winter season. Excitement is totally in the air. But with that excitement comes massive, overwhelming crowds. Suddenly, chaos hits the customer service desk. Your staff is completely swamped and they're desperately asking for your help. You step up and bam, you're immediately hit with a barrage of very different, very pressing issues from 6 separate groups of guests. It's entirely up to you to turn this around, and you gotta do it fast.
But here's the catch, the thing that makes this simulation so effective. You aren't making this decision in a vacuum. You're working with your management group, and you're up against a strict ticking clock. You have exactly 15 minutes to figure this out. In that 15 minutes, you have to identify which single customer you'll assist as your absolute priority, provide the reasoning for that choice, and map out a solution. Oh, and one more absolutely critical detail. Your group must reach a unanimous agreement, and there is no voting allowed. None. That means you really have to rely on logic, persuasion, and crystal clear priorities to align your team under immense pressure. So, let's look at the chaos you're actually facing here. We've got 6 distinct crises happening all at once. First up, a customer dealing with 2 crying children because the waiting lines are just way too long. Right next to them, an amusement park enthusiast who is absolutely miserable. He traveled specifically for a roller coaster that happens to be closed for renovation, and he just wants a photo for his collection. Then, an elderly group who forgot to print their 25% discount voucher but still totally expect the offer to be honored. Next, a frustrated father with an excited 9-year-old trying to get into a haunted house where the strict minimum age is 10. Plus, you have a group of very disappointed tourists who can't buy souvenirs because they're completely sold out. And finally, a cold and wet customer desperately needing a change of clothes after a rough go on the water ride. Wow. Just looking at this list kind of gives you a sense of the sheer overwhelm at a real-world service desk. Now when literally everything feels urgent, how do you choose? And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept of triage in management. Let's compare 2 of the most visibly disruptive situations on that list. The customer with the loudly crying children versus the cold and wet customer. Now, the crying children create a high-stress, noisy environment that feels super urgent to everyone within earshot. However, the root cause? It's an inconvenience. The lines are simply too long. Contrast that with a cold and wet customer. This isn't just an annoyance. This is immediate physical distress. In any triage situation, whether it's an emergency room or a theme park, physical well-being must completely override inconvenience and noise. Every single time. Let's break down exactly why the cold and wet customer is the undeniably correct priority choice in this simulation. First off, we're looking at immediate physical discomfort. Being soaking wet and freezing can very, very quickly escalate from just being uncomfortable to genuine physical distress. Second, it's a potential health concern, right? Prolonged exposure to cold and wet conditions can actually make the customer unwell. It completely crosses the line from a standard customer service issue to a serious guest safety issue. Third, there's an urgent need for practical, tangible support right this second. And finally, prioritizing this guest demonstrates genuine care. Taking care of someone's physical discomfort is the ultimate show of empathy and strong hospitality. So the crucial point is how you actually execute the solution once you've identified that priority. You can't just apologize. You need a real action plan. Here's a highly effective sequence to recover this specific situation. Step 1, immediately remove them from the environment by escorting them indoors to a warm area. Step 2, stabilize the physical discomfort by providing towels, blankets, or getting them to a drying facility. Step 3, solve the root problem by helping them get replacement clothing, pulling from the gift shop inventory or checking lost and found. And step 4, the actual recovery. You offer a complimentary voucher or discount as a goodwill gesture for what they just went through. Notice how this moves logically from immediate physical safety straight to long-term customer satisfaction. Let's move to and see how this builds into our next phase, the sweep, recovering the other guests. Let's map out some practical, rapid-fire solutions for the remaining guests. For those crying children tired of lines, you offer info on less crowded attractions and maybe provide a fast pass or a return time option. For our miserable roller coaster enthusiast, give him that commemorative photo he wants, provide the reopening dates, and definitely set him up with a complimentary pass for a future visit. For the elderly group without the printed voucher, just verify the promotion internally and honor the 25% discount anyway. Come on.
Don't let a piece of paper ruin their day. For the father and the 9-year-old, you absolutely must strictly explain the safety rule. You never, ever compromise safety. But you pivot, right? Suggest age-appropriate rides and offer a special treat for the disappointed kid. And finally, for the tourists wanting souvenirs, you can offer online ordering with home delivery or just give them a small complimentary keepsake right then and there. Boom! Every single guest gets a targeted, practical solution.
Zooming out for a second, why is this specific simulation used to evaluate managers and hospitality professionals? Well, because it tests a vital set of skills. By successfully navigating the roller coaster rush, you're proving your capacity for real empathy and compassion, like recognizing physical distress over a noisy complaint. You're demonstrating quick problem solving and sound judgment through strict prioritization. And by sweeping up the remaining 5 issues with creative fixes, you're showcasing advanced customer recovery skills and a totally unwavering commitment to exceptional service. It proves you can take a multi-layered disaster and turn it into a series of memorable, positive customer experiences. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it ties everything together into an ideal, concise managerial response. If you were sitting in a boardroom summarizing your 15 minutes of group work, this is exactly the kind of communication they're looking for. You'd say, I would prioritize the cold and wet customer because she is experiencing immediate physical discomfort and may become unwell if left unattended. I would escort her to a warm area and help her obtain dry clothes. For the other guests, I would provide practical alternatives and goodwill gestures to ensure everyone still leaves with a positive impression. See that? It hits every single metric. Safety first, practical alternatives second, and goodwill for all. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to take back to your own world. You might not manage an amusement park on the brink of winter closure, but you absolutely face days where everything goes wrong all at once and everyone is demanding your attention. So when that chaos hits, how will you apply these exact skills of empathy-driven triage, firm prioritization, and practical problem solving to turn those challenges around? The next time you're feeling overwhelmed, just remember the roller coaster rush. Find your cold and wet customer, solve the real crisis, and then gracefully sweep up the rest.